So on my old camera, I took a tumble and I snatched it. And it what happened was they sent it in for repair. It cost $10,000 for repair. Like, so this is
yeah, mine was like, it was sitting in the truck for like 10 minutes, I'm going to setting up lights, and then like, all of a sudden, the tripod gets out, and it was like, the lens was like facing this way. It still worked, I like just turned it to get a live shot, and I was still able to focus and see it. And then like, yeah, it cost $3,000 PM, it cost like $12,000. I'm like, alright, let's just settle on this one. So like, we need to back around. Go with that $3,000 there. Yeah. You guys live across the board too? It was, the wind was not on your favor at all.
Office of Emergency Management, the Colorado Springs Fire Department, the Colorado Springs Police Department, and Colorado Springs Utilities. They're going to come up one by one, kind of explain what we have planned for this weekend. At the end, we'll take some questions. They will say and spell their first and last names for you and give you guys their titles, okay? Mike's all good? Okay, perfect.
Hi everyone, Meredith Nichols, MEredithNichols. I'm the Deputy Director for Pikes Peak Regional Office of Emergency Management. The Pikes Peak Regional Office of Emergency Management works year-round to collaborate with the first responders and our partner agencies to anticipate and prepare for severe weather and all types of emergencies. We're continually improving our local capacity and ability to serve the public, and we are ready for the severe cold weather that's on its way. We'll hear from our first responder and utility partners in a moment on their roles and upcoming severe cold weather. From an emergency management standpoint, the best thing that can happen is for everyone take some action to contribute to the safety of our community. We cannot emphasize enough that the whole community needs to take some part in preparing for and being ready to handle emergencies when they arise. Please do not underestimate the risk associated with extreme cold weather. It's expected to last an extended period of time, at least for a few days, and is potentially life-threatening if you do not take it seriously. We're expecting more than 70 continuous hours of wind chills below zero, dropping as low as a wind chill of 20 degrees below zero. Please do not go out in extreme cold if you don't have to. If you have to go out, wear loose layers and cover up so that no skin is exposed to the cold. Now is a good time to make sure that your emergency vehicle kit is ready. Make sure it includes warm clothing, blankets, hand warmers, and appropriate cold weather supplies just in case you get stuck. Know the symptoms and first aid for cold-related injuries like frostbite and hypothermia. Please don't forget appropriate care for your pets and livestock. Bring pets inside and keep livestock out of the wind and snow. It is a great time to check in on your friends and neighbors who might need assistance, especially anyone who might be at a greater risk in the cold, like small children, older adults, or people with chronic illness. If you have or need non-emergency help for things like utilities, food, emergency sheltering, or other needs, you can call 211 for assistance. We can assure you that our agencies are ready, and we hope that everyone will join us as a community in being prepared. Now, there are many members of our community who are at a very great risk, and the Colorado Springs Fire Department is heading up coordination of services for these folks. So I'm going to hand it off to Steve Johnson with the Colorado Springs Fire Department.
Good morning, Steve Johnson, STEVE, JOHNSON, Colorado Springs Fire Department, Community Public Health. I'm the administrator of Community Public Health. So this is the first year that we've had an emergency action plan for cold weather in our homeless population. We had the great privilege of working with OEM and a lot of community partners to begin building this together. And it has really gone well. I am so excited about how this has been coming together. We actually started about a week ago when we had our first cold weather spell and have been continuing on with this work. So together we have had some emergency action planning meetings already. We've set up some shelters. We have some transportation put together. And we have a coordination for getting 2 individuals in our community who don't have any shelter options that they can go to. So our 2 main shelters that we are working with is the Springs Rescue Mission, of course, who is able to take quite a large number of individuals and are prepared to take even more if they need to. And then we are working with Hope COS, who has, if you will, some pop-up shelters with churches that they work with, and they are able to take quite a few as well. Last night, actually, folks started calling in again. We had, I would say, about 600 individuals who don't have access to shelter who were sheltered last night. It was pretty bad if you were out there, and it was really wonderful to be able to provide that. And then we've had a number of community partners step up to help us with transportation from wherever they're at that they call for assistance to be able to pick them up, take them to the appropriate shelter for them. One of the things that was helpful for them is this obviously has a lot of stress on their systems, and so if you're so inclined, both of them have expressed the need for any financial help or even volunteers who can come in and assist them over this longer period of time. So thank you for helping us get the word out for that, and we are more prepared than we've ever been to help our homeless community here in Colorado Springs. And I think a really nice benefit too is it helps us to build relationships with them, the rescue mission, ourselves, and the Hope COS, that will lead to better outcomes in the future for them, where we can connect them to services and help them start moving in the direction that can really change their life trajectory. So thank you for your time and for the opportunity today.
Olav, O-L-A-V, Cheney, C-H-A-N-E-Y, Sergeant with the Homeless Outreach Team, Colorado Springs Police Department. It's been an honor and a privilege to work with our resource partners trying to put together something to help all those that are not in a good place right now. And so what our responsibility is, me and my team, as well as CSPD and the patrol, we are out there, and specifically my team, we've been out there trying to encourage contact and get people into the warming shelters, knowing that the weather is going to be extremely cold with the wind chill, for their safety. And the hardest part is trying to convince some of them to actually get there. My team, as well as our patrol officers, are willing to take people to the shelters as well as we can. We have done so already. We'll continue to do that throughout this day as well. And I know patrol will be watching closely over the weekend. We will also be checking the welfare very closely early next Monday morning, making sure hopefully that most people have gone into the shelters, or hopefully if we do find someone, we can get them immediate help as we can. Again, the hardest part is trying to reach these people, the ones that don't want the help and want to stay out there. Trying to convince them is very difficult at times, and then those are the ones we want to try to get back to, because we at some point may have to help them get the help they need. At that point, they may not have a choice. So we're hopeful that we know the shelters are pretty full right now, but we are also continuing bringing people to those warming shelters to get them off the street. My team has also provided some head warming gear, as well as hand warmers. We have socks we hand out for those that are need some socks, but we do what we can. Right now our focus is not enforcement as much as it is, let's see what we can do to convince these folks to get out of the weather and get them into the shelter, and just to get warm and get out of here, because it's going to get ugly. So we'll do everything we can and do our part. Again, it's been an honor and a privilege to work with these folks, and we'll continue to do so. Thank you.
Summer Meese, S-O-M-E-R, M-E-S-E, Colorado Springs Utilities, Chief Operations Officer. Thank you all for allowing us to be part of this today to talk on behalf of utilities, so I appreciate that. I want to start with some of the preparations utilities has taken to make sure we're prepared for this event. We routinely buy gas throughout the year and put that into storage underground so that we are prepared for these kinds of events and we can mitigate some of the high price fluctuations we're currently seeing. In addition to that, we also have a propane air plant that we can operate and do intend on operating this weekend. That also adds supply to that gas system to ensure everyone can heat their homes throughout the weekend, help manage those costs. And we're really trying to avoid buying gas throughout the weekend as much as we can to help mitigate those prices. Power plants, this is going to be a weekend where there's an extreme pull on resources from the power plants. We are rigorously maintaining those during the off-peak seasons to make sure that we're prepared for these kinds of events. So those are our proactive things. We will have staffing ready if there are events that happen, ready to go out if people need that. We want to make sure our customers have what they need, and we are prepared. Obviously, it's going to be very cold, so if we can share these messages with our customers, it's better for us so that hopefully we can keep our employees safe and warm as well. We also want to share some things for efficiency and some of those billing tips from utilities. Manage your thermostat. You want to set that. We recommend 68 degrees. I know everybody likes a toasty 72, but the reality is if you don't change that, your furnace is going to work harder and it's going to actually cost you more because it's going to use more gas. It's less efficient. So turn it down a little bit. Be prepared to try to help yourself with that. 60 is probably as low as you want to go, just again from pipes freezing, etc. Changing your furnace filter is a huge thing that you can do to improve the efficiency of your furnace. Those need to be changed monthly if you can. If you haven't done it in a while, this is a good time to do that to make sure that furnace is operating at its best capability. Frozen pipes, nobody wants a flooded basement. Open cabinet doors, especially if they're on exterior walls, to let the heat get into those cabinets. Trickle the water, let it drip. If you'd like to save that water and water your plants with it, that's also a perk. I'm sure they'll love it. And you can buy insulation at the Home Depot, Lowe's, etc. that would also protect those pipes. We also want to make sure everybody is safe and warm, but to do that safely, don't use your oven, barbecue grill, those types of things. Carbon monoxide is an issue with those, so make sure you're using authorized heaters, space heaters, etc. And again, our priority is the safety of our customers and our employees, so we want to make sure we can restore service if something happens, make sure everybody is safe and warm, but we also want to provide the information of efficiency to make sure we're keeping those bills as low as we can. And for further information, you can go to our website, csu.org, to talk about outages, other tips, safety, and other information related to your utilities. Thank you.
We'd like to open it up for some questions if you guys have any.
Hey Steve, you said this is the first time you guys have come up with an action plan for like a spell of cold weather like this. Can you talk about that and why it hadn't been done before?
I don't know if I can share why it hasn't been done before. It just hadn't been done, right? The reality for us is I went through some of the incident management classes and said to myself, this is a need in our community. We have some things that we haven't addressed that we should. And so I came out of that and said, I'm going to connect with OEM and start asking how we can create this together, because it's predictable that every year we'll have cold weather and we always scramble, but we don't need to scramble. We can proactively plan and therefore not have to do some of that last minute action planning, and we can be a lot more prepared going into it and just provide better care for the individuals in our community that are unsheltered, but also help our whole community, leave both our police and fire units in service to take the things that they need to do because we're proactively managing the crisis. So, the engine, for instance, can call directly to the number that we have, and they can ask for somebody to come and pick up the individual that they might be helping who's cold or unsheltered, and then they're able to go back into service to be available for a house fire that might come from folks who are heating their home in a way that causes an issue. So at least police and service to be able to deal with situations that come up on an emergency side. So that's a large part of it. We're taking care of our people, our community, and our first responders as a whole. And really happy to do that. We're learning some things, but it's gone really well. We'll continue to tweak that, and we'll look for other areas in that same way that we can serve our community by having forward action plans that are not yet done for that particular group of individuals, since we work so closely with homeless.
Other questions?
Ashley, when should people call 911
So we are advising people that if you see someone who may look like they may need any medical attention, to absolutely call 911. We would rather come out and check than not. If you're driving by someone who looks like they may need some help, some medical attention, please call 911. We are also asking if you know, the same thing we always tell you, if you see fire or smoke, call us immediately. Obviously, we know these cold temperatures, we see more warming fires, and a big concern with that is sometimes they spread to homes and they spread to, you know, commercial structures, and we really want to make sure that we're getting there as quick as we can to mitigate that risk.
Can you talk a little bit more about kind of the dangers that come with people just being exposed to these cold temperatures and, like you said, that wind chill?
Any of you guys on that?
Yeah, so of course, whenever you're in those extreme conditions, there's a risk of frostbite and hypothermia. So definitely look out for those signs, and just like Ashley said, if you're concerned for someone, definitely call 911 and get them the help they need.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some of those signs for frostbite for people that might not know how long could you be exposed to something before that could really become an issue?
Yeah, sure. I'm not a medical professional. I have my, is there fire or you have any? Yeah.
So it takes just about 30 minutes for frostbite to set in, and you know, we ask people to make sure that, kind of like we are all talking about here today, is wearing those layers. We want you to have gloves on. We want you to have no skin exposed. And some of those things that we're seeing, you know, dizziness, lightheadedness, nausea, if you can't feel your extremities, those are good signs to call immediately.
Absolutely. And your hot team is trying to get, you talked about more people, you know, into the shelters, like the Springs Rescue Mission. But what happens when it gets too full? What's kind of the backup plan?
Well, I can tell you, so far to this point, we haven't had an issue, and as I understand it, I think we're okay, at least for the moment. So I don't think there's going to be an issue as far as getting people there. It's just trying to convince them to get there, and or at least keep as warm as they can, and again, cover everything up. Because every year we see people that have lost a toe and a foot the following year, or months later, or maybe lost toes or fingers, and that breaks our heart because we try to convince them, and we even tell them it's going to happen, and unfortunately they just sometimes just don't want to listen, and we can't force them. But yes, right now I think we're fine. I don't anticipate any issues as far as not having enough space at this point. So.
Sergeant, I've gone out with you guys before when you tried to get people to go into the shelters, and I've seen you guys like handing out gloves and
Yes,
stuff
sir.
like that. Are you guys going to be doing that during this cold snap?
We have been, yes, and we have been, and we're continuing. We're not necessarily gloves, but the hand warmers, socks. We've got headgear that we've handed out to them to keep their ears and everything else as warm as they can. So yes, we're constantly looking for ways to get them warm one way or another. And I do know the rescue mission has some clothing that we've taken people in. Yesterday, the gentleman freezing in his 60s. I didn't have hardly anything on. We took him to the rescue mission, and I know they're going to take care of him because they've got some clothing and they can outfit him. The goal is to try to keep everybody as safe as they can, and can hopefully convince them to get somewhere where it's warm.
Sorry. I was just going to ask if you could speak to a little bit why somebody might not want to go with you into a warming shelter.
Well, a very good question. Some of them are pretty independent. They don't want to be told what to do, and in some cases they're okay being there, and in some cases they've managed to make it through the night. And so it's just, I mean, they'll also say, well, I'm not good around crowds, and understandably for some of those folks, obviously that could be an issue, right? They won't let me take my pet in, perhaps in some cases, but that's not the case. The rescue mission will take animals, and I've seen animals at some of the other warming shelters just yesterday, and so that's not a concern. But the other side of that is, and I can tell you that in some cases it's because unfortunately we do see a lot that are involved with substance abuse out there, and they will not go in, and they'll tell us this. They won't let me go in with my drugs. Right, and that seems to be a little more of a driving point, sadly, than it is, their own livelihood. So those are just some that, for these folks, they just you know, they're okay. They feel like they're okay, or they don't think it's going to be as serious as we're telling them it is, and then they find out later, and unfortunately, maybe too late in some cases, that it was. So.
I don't know.
Is there a concern for carbon monoxide poisoning during this time? Yeah.
Especially so, yes. This is the time of year we've had furnaces on, but you know, again, using the right appliances. Make sure you know if you've had your furnace checked, if possible. Not again going back to having your oven open, those types of things. The right space heater. But I don't know if we see more calls related to that. That would be for the fire and police department. But from the utilities perspective, that's definitely something that is a heightened awareness, especially this time of year, because people are finding multiple ways to try to stay warm.
I don't know who the best person to speak to this would be.